Elena stirred poison into the orange juice, watching her innocent stepdaughter through the window. "Just one sip," she whispered, "and the inheritance will be mine." But fate had other plans. Sometimes the trap you set catches the wrong person, especially when greed makes you careless. Before watching full story, comment below from where are you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The old house on Maple Street had seen better days. Its paint was peeling and the garden was full of weeds. But inside, something much uglier was growing: hatred in the heart of Elena Martinez. Elena stood by the kitchen window, watching her stepdaughter Maya water the small flower bed near the back fence. The girl was 17, with long black hair that shone in the morning sun and a smile that could light up any room. Maya hummed while she worked, completely unaware of the dark thoughts filling her stepmother's mind. "Why does she have to be so perfect?" Elena whispered to herself, gripping the curtains so tightly her knuckles turned white. "It's not fair." Maya's father, Roberto, had died 2 years ago in a car accident. He had left everything to Maya: the house, his savings account, and a small inheritance from his mother. Elena, who had married Roberto just 3 years before his death, got nothing. The law said Maya would control everything when she turned 18, which was just 2 weeks away. Elena had tried to convince Maya to share the inheritance. She had tried being nice. She had tried guilt. She had even tried threats. But Maya was kind and trusting, just like her father. She promised Elena could stay in the house as long as she wanted, but she wouldn't give her any money. "That's not enough," Elena had screamed just last week. "I deserve more than your charity." But Maya had only looked confused and hurt. "Elena, this is your home too. Isn't that what matters?" Now, Elena laughed bitterly at the memory. Maya didn't understand. She had never had to worry about money or fight for anything. Everything had been given to her on a silver plate. Elena walked to the kitchen cabinet and pulled out a small brown bottle she had hidden behind the flour. Inside was a white powder she had bought from a man in the bad part of town. He had promised it would work quickly and look like a heart attack. "Just a little bit in her drink," Elena whispered, "and all my problems go away." She opened the bottle carefully and poured some of the powder into a small glass. Then she added Maya's favorite drink, fresh orange juice with honey. She stirred it until the powder disappeared completely. Elena carried the glass to the back door and called out sweetly, "Maya, honey, you must be thirsty. I made you some juice." Maya looked up from the flowers, her face breaking into a grateful smile. "Oh, thank you, Elena. You're so thoughtful." Elena's heart almost stopped for a second. Maya trusted her completely. But then she remembered the inheritance, the house, and her empty bank account. Her resolve hardened. "Come inside and drink it while it's fresh," Elena said, still smiling. Maya wiped her hands on her jeans and walked toward the house. "You know, Elena, I've been thinking about what we talked about last week." Elena's pulse quickened. "Oh? What about?" "About the inheritance. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should share it with you. After all, you took care of Papa when he was sick and you've been taking care of me too." For a moment, Elena felt a stab of guilt. But she pushed it away. It was too late now. Maya would promise anything, but she was young and would change her mind. Better to be safe. "That's sweet of you to say, dear," Elena replied, holding out the glass. "Here, drink this first. We can talk about it later." Maya took the glass without hesitation and lifted it to her lips. Elena watched, holding her breath. But just as Maya was about to take her first sip, the phone rang loudly from the living room. "Oh, that might be my friend Sarah," Maya said, lowering the glass. "I'll be right back." She set the glass on the kitchen counter and hurried to answer the phone, leaving Elena alone with the poisoned drink. Elena stared at the glass, her hands shaking slightly. Part of her wanted to grab it and throw it away, to confess everything and beg Maya's forgiveness. But the larger part of her, the part that had grown bitter and desperate over the past 2 years, whispered that this was her only chance. From the living room, she could hear Maya talking excitedly to her friend about college plans. Maya had been accepted to study nursing at the state university. She wanted to help people just like her father had always taught her. She has her whole life ahead of her, Elena thought. And what do I have? Nothing. Maya returned to the kitchen a few minutes later, still smiling from her phone conversation. "Sorry about that. Sarah wanted to know if I could help her move this weekend." Maya reached for the glass again. "This looks delicious. You always make the best orange juice." Elena watched as Maya brought the glass to her lips again. This time there were no interruptions. Maya took a long drink, nearly finishing half the glass. She smiled and licked her lips. Perfect. Thank you, Elena." Elena forced herself to smile back, even though her stomach was churning. "You're welcome, dear." They stood there for a moment, making small talk about Maya's college plans and the weather. Elena kept checking the clock on the wall. The man had said the poison would work in about 10 minutes. At first Maya seemed fine. She finished the rest of the juice and even helped Elena wash some dishes. But after about 8 minutes she started to look pale. "Elena," Maya said, pressing her hand to her stomach. "I don't feel very well." Elena pretended to look concerned. "Oh no, what's wrong?" "My stomach hurts and I feel dizzy." Maya sat down heavily in one of the kitchen chairs. "Maybe I ate something bad." "Maybe you should lie down," Elena suggested, but inside she was thinking, just a few more minutes. Maya tried to stand up, but she stumbled and had to grab the table for support. "Something's really wrong," she gasped. "I feel like I'm going to be sick." Elena watched as Maya's face turned pale and sweat began to form on her forehead. The girl's breathing became shallow and fast. "Elena," Maya whispered, looking up with frightened eyes. "Please, call an ambulance. Something's really wrong." But Elena just stood there watching. Part of her felt terrible seeing Maya suffer, but she told herself it would be over soon. In a few minutes Maya would be gone, and Elena would inherit everything. She would call 911 and act shocked. Everyone would think it was just a tragic accident. A young woman with an unknown heart condition. Maya collapsed to the floor, clutching her chest. "Please," she begged weakly. "Help me." Elena finally moved, but not to help. She walked to the phone and started to dial 911, but slowly. She wanted to make sure Maya was gone before the paramedics arrived. 911, what's your emergency?" the operator answered. "Oh God," Elena said, making her voice sound panicked. "My stepdaughter has collapsed. I think she's having a heart attack." As Elena gave the address to the operator, she looked down at Maya. The girl was barely conscious, her breathing very weak. Elena hung up the phone and knelt beside Maya, pretending to check her pulse. "Don't worry, honey," she whispered. "Help is coming." But Maya's eyes suddenly focused on Elena's face, and for a moment, they seemed very clear and aware. "That's the juice," Maya whispered. "You put something in the juice." Elena's blood turned cold. "What?" "No, Maya, you're just sick." But Maya's eyes were still focused on her, full of pain and betrayal. "Why?" she breathed. Elena looked away, unable to meet Maya's gaze. But she didn't confess. Instead, she stood up and walked to the sink, where she quickly washed the glass Maya had used. She had to destroy the evidence. As she scrubbed the glass, Elena heard a strange sound behind her. She turned around and saw Maya trying to crawl toward the counter where Elena had left the brown bottle of poison. "No!" Elena rushed over and grabbed the bottle, shoving it into her pocket. But in her panic, she knocked over the pitcher of orange juice she had used to mix Maya's drink. The juice spilled everywhere, including onto the floor where Maya lay. And that's when Elena realized her mistake. There was still some of the poison mixture left in the pitcher. Not much, but enough to leave a puddle of the deadly orange liquid right next to Maya's face. Elena frantically grabbed paper towels to clean up the spill, but in her hurry she slipped on the wet floor. She fell hard, hitting her head on the edge of the counter. For a moment Elena saw stars. When her vision cleared, she found herself lying on the floor next to Maya, and she tasted something sweet in her mouth. She had fallen face first into the puddle of poisoned orange juice. Elena quickly spit and wiped her mouth, but she knew she had swallowed some of the liquid. Her heart began to race, but not from fear for Maya anymore. Now she was afraid for herself. "No, no, no," Elena whispered, scrambling to her feet. She ran to the sink and tried to make herself throw up, but it was too late. She could already feel a strange burning sensation in her stomach. From the floor, Maya watched through half-closed eyes as Elena began to panic. "Help is coming," Elena said desperately, not sure if she was talking to Maya or herself. "They'll help both of us." But even as she said it, Elena felt the same symptoms that had struck Maya. Her stomach began to cramp and dizziness washed over her. The irony was not lost on her. In trying to destroy the evidence of her crime, she had poisoned herself with the same dose meant for Maya. Elena collapsed onto a kitchen chair, clutching her stomach. The pain was getting worse by the minute. She looked at Maya, who was still breathing but barely conscious. "I'm sorry," Elena whispered, though she wasn't sure Maya could hear her. "I'm so sorry." In the distance, Elena could hear sirens approaching. But she knew it might be too late for both of them. The poison was working on her now just as it had on Maya. As Elena felt herself getting weaker, she thought about the choices that had brought her to this moment. Her jealousy, her greed, her willingness to hurt an innocent girl who had only ever been kind to her. The sirens got louder and Elena could see flashing lights through the kitchen window. The paramedics would be there any moment. With her last bit of strength, Elena crawled over to Maya and took the girl's hand. "I poisoned your juice," she whispered. Tell them what I did. Don't let me get away with it." Maya's eyes fluttered open one more time, and she squeezed Elena's hand weakly. The front door burst open and paramedics rushed into the kitchen. They found both women unconscious on the floor. "Two victims," one of the paramedics called out. "Looks like poisoning. We need to get them to the hospital immediately." As they loaded both Maya and Elena into ambulances, neither woman was conscious. But the brown bottle had fallen out of Elena's pocket during the chaos, and one of the police officers found it on the kitchen floor. At the hospital, doctors worked frantically to save both women. Maya, being younger and stronger, had a better chance. But Elena had consumed nearly as much poison as Maya, and her body was not as able to fight it. Maya woke up 3 days later in the hospital. Her throat was sore and her stomach still hurt, but she was alive. The first thing she asked about was Elena. "She's in critical condition," the doctor told her. "But she might pull through. Maya, the police need to talk to you about what happened." When the detective came to her room, Maya told him everything she remembered. How Elena had brought her the juice, how sick she had felt, and Elena's confession in those final moments. "We found the poison bottle," the detective said. "And we believe Elena accidentally poisoned herself while trying to clean up the evidence. It's what we call poetic justice. Elena survived, but just barely. When she finally woke up, she was under arrest for attempted murder. The evidence was overwhelming, and her own confession to Maya sealed her fate. During the trial, Elena finally understood the full weight of what she had done. She had tried to kill an innocent girl out of pure greed, and her own actions had nearly killed her too. Maya, meanwhile, recovered completely. She used part of her inheritance to pay for Elena's medical bills, showing a kindness that Elena had never deserved. On the day Elena was sentenced to 20 years in prison, Maya visited her one last time. "I forgive you," Maya said simply. "Papa always taught me that hatred only hurts the person who carries it." Elena broke down crying. "How can you forgive me? I tried to kill you." "Because," Maya replied, "staying angry won't help either of us heal. But actions have consequences and justice had to be served." As Maya walked away from the prison, she thought about the strange way everything had happened. Elena's plan had been turned against her by her own greed and panic. The poison meant for Maya had found its way back to Elena instead. Sometimes, Maya realized, the universe has its own way of balancing the scales. Elena had learned the hardest way possible that evil truly does circle back to its source. Maya went on to become a nurse, just as she had planned. She never married or had children, but she spent her life helping others and spreading the kindness her father had taught her. And sometimes, when she was taking care of a difficult patient, Maya would remember Elena and think about how love is always stronger than hatred, and how justice in the end always finds a way.